Hello everyone. Welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In this episode, we'll discuss the financial system in TenSura, focusing on the spending habits of monsters and some speculation about the annual incomes of Rimuru and others. The TenSura World, or Central World, consisted of several countries, including the emerging center of power, the Monster Federation, the dwarven nation of Dworgen, Rubrios, ruled by Luminous and the vampires, the human-dominated Eastern Empire and Western nations like Ingracia and the Kingdom of Falmouth, Sarian, ruled by High Elves Sylvia and Elmesia, the Golden City El Dorado under Leon's reign, and the southern region controlled by Malim. Each of these countries had its own unique culture, and their level of civilization is on par with the Monster Federation. In human nations, economic activities followed a formal monetary system rather than bartering. In contrast, many monster tribes still relied on bartering, and some monsters didn't even understand trade. Brute force was often a more natural means of acquiring goods for them. After Rimuru established the Monster Federation, the nation thrived with significant daily financial inflows. Rimuru, who was originally from Japan, felt guilty that his subordinates, who had done so much for him, were not receiving any salaries. Because of this, Rimuru put considerable effort into setting up a proper salary system, even more so than when he focused on recruiting powerful subordinates. Let's first take a look at the monetary system in the Central World. Unlike Earth, where different countries have their own currencies, there was only one widely accepted currency in this Central World: the coins minted by King Gazel's Dworgen nation. Each coin minted by Dworgen had a unique serial number and anti-counterfeit measures, making it impossible to forge, even for the Lord of Wisdom. This made Dworgen's currency extremely reliable. There were 4 types of coins in Dworgen's system: copper coins, silver coins, gold coins, and stellar gold coins. Copper coins were the lowest denomination, with a value roughly equivalent to 10 US cents, although their actual purchasing power might have been slightly higher. Due to their low value, copper coins were not used much, and they appeared the least often in the story. Silver coins were the most common form of currency in the Central World because the average daily wage for city workers was 6 to 7 silver coins, around $70 US if converted. In rural areas, wages were even lower, and many people didn't earn 100 silver coins in a year, indicating a significant wealth gap in the Central World. In fact, in many rural areas, silver coins were the highest denomination people encountered, and some had never even seen a gold coin. For adventurers, silver coins were quite familiar. For example, the lowest quality healing potion in Dworgen cost 3 silver coins, while high-grade potions retailed for between 22 and 35 silver coins. In rural inns, a night's stay typically cost around 2 silver coins, with minimal services included. Lastly, even entering Ramrus Labyrinth required a 3 silver coin entry fee. Gold coins were a higher denomination of currency, with each gold coin being worth 100 silver coins. Naturally, the value of gold coins far exceeded that of silver coins, so they were used for more limited purposes. Gold coins were primarily used for national budgets and purchasing luxury goods. The Monster Federation seemed to have been one of the best places to spend gold coins. For instance, one of the best-selling items in the Monster Federation was a fully restorative potion, which was considered a luxury item and cost 5 gold coins. Additionally, the Monster Federation offered luxury items like clothing designed by Shuna, which could cost dozens of gold coins. In TenSura's spin-off manga The Ways of the Monster Nation, Framia's new set of equipment was priced at 6 gold coins per set. The highest denomination was the stellar gold coin, each of which was equivalent to 100 gold coins. The high value of these coins was due to the special processing technique used by the dwarves, which involved a molding process that could only produce 1 coin per month. King Gazel also mentioned that for a period after the founding of Dworgen Nation, these coins weren't minted at all. Stellar gold coins were said to have artistic value as well. They were mainly used to settle issues between nations, such as war reparations, and were rarely circulated in the market. Because they were so valuable, stellar gold coins weren't used in regular transactions unless for something special, and exchanging them for regular gold coins wasn't easy. In fact, when the Monster Federation demanded reparations from the Falmouth Kingdom, the 1,500 stellar gold coins paid nearly drained Falmouth's entire treasury. It's worth noting that the total number of stellar gold coins was said to be 10,000 or fewer, so the 1,500 coins the Monster Federation received represented about 15% of the total circulation. Additionally, 100 stellar gold coins were used as the reward for defeating the final boss Veldora at the end of the labyrinth in the book. While clearing the labyrinth was an almost impossible task, the thought of winning 100 stellar gold coins likely sparked fantasies in many challengers, akin to winning the Powerball lottery. Now let's talk about the salary levels in the Central World. As mentioned earlier, the income of ordinary citizens and those in rural areas varied greatly, and these were just average figures. Different professions could have vastly different earnings. In wealthier nations, the cost of living was higher, and so were wages. The Central World generally followed a daily wage system, whereas adventurers operated on a performance-based income. For example, the teachers at Chloe's school earned around 10 silver coins per day, and they also received benefits like accommodation, meals, and access to the Royal Library. It was actually a very good job. In the spin-off anime Rimuru's Glamorous Life as a Teacher, there was even an extracurricular study program for students, and the top-performing class's teacher received a bonus of 10 gold coins. On the other hand, a simple city laborer earned only 2 to 3 silver coins per day, and in rural areas, as mentioned before, the annual income might not even have reached 100 silver coins. Of course, entertainment options in the Central World were quite limited, so there weren't many opportunities for spending money. This was one of the reasons why Rimuru went to great lengths to turn the Monster Federation into a capital of entertainment and joy. Beyond the goal of creating a harmonious society between humans and monsters, the ability to make money was a real motivator. In this world, under normal circumstances, a single gold coin could sustain a person for several months. The Eastern Empire was a wealthy nation, and as a militaristic state, its soldiers received much higher wages than those in other countries. Soldiers were paid based on their years of service, and this payment was made in advance for the coming year. This meant that if a soldier received a promotion after their wages were paid, the difference would be added to the next year's salary. For first-time recruits, they received a reserve payment as soon as they enlisted. If they died in battle, the advance payment became part of their death benefit, ensuring there was no financial loss for joining the military. This was one reason why the Eastern Empire was able to maintain such a massive army. Of course, we knew that Rudra's real purpose in creating such a vast military force was to find just a few individuals capable of awakening special powers. Nevertheless, it showed that Rudra had been willing to invest heavily in his rivalry with Gi. Based on the available information, the Eastern Empire's annual salary structure was as follows. A regular soldier received a basic salary of 10 gold coins annually. A lieutenant's basic salary and rank allowance totaled 36 gold coins, while a major's basic salary and allowance totaled 44 gold coins. Therefore, it was clear that higher-ranking individuals like Calgurio and Minutes earned much more. People from other worlds who served in the Eastern Empire enjoyed preferential treatment, starting at the rank of second lieutenant or higher, with better compensation than ordinary people. For example, the character Shinji, although also a major, earned nearly 70 gold coins per year, which was much higher than the typical salary and allowances of 44 gold coins. At first glance, the Eastern Empire seemed like an ideal place to join the military. However, the cost of living in the empire was also very high. According to Shinji, to live a luxurious lifestyle, the income he earned was far from sufficient. That said, there seemed to have been some inconsistency with Mai Furuki's description of her situation. Theoretically, Mai Furuki's salary should have been equal to or greater than Shinji's, but even so, she only received sweet potatoes as a reward and couldn't afford cake. It seemed the author didn't fully reconcile this with previous story elements. Anyway, since this novel didn't need a strict financial system, we could view it as part of the entertainment. Now, let's talk about the economy and monster society. In the monster world, it was typically a survival of the fittest environment, where the concept of currency didn't really exist. Bartering was the standard mode of exchange for most monsters. However, ever since Rimuru established the Monster Federation, he had been trying to introduce a wage system. At the beginning, the Monster Federation implemented a rationing system. The nation provided all essential goods and welfare to ensure that citizens had sufficient food, clothing, and shelter. This system was quite effective for monsters. First, monsters didn't tend to slack off, and second, they didn't have many desires. To understand this better, it's similar to a pet dog at home, with very simple thoughts. Therefore, the Monster Federation could meet most of its citizens' needs internally, and only used common currency when trading with adventurers or other outside visitors. In such a situation, a wage system wasn't necessary within the Monster Federation. However, as a modern human, Rimuru felt it was unfair not to do something for his subordinates who worked hard for him. After all, almost every adult monster in Tempest was working non-stop, even the laziest figures like Dino, the unreliable Veldora, and Ramirus were still working. In this context, Rimuru felt guilty for not compensating them for their efforts, which is understandable. But the problem was that monsters thought differently. If they wanted something, they'd just take it, and if they couldn't, they would trade for it with something else. So, to establish a currency system in the Monster Federation, Rimuru first needed to change the monster's mindset. This deeply ingrained value system of bartering and taking based on need wouldn't be easy to shift overnight. Rimuru believed that once the monsters gained literacy and basic education, they would gradually understand and accept the concept of a monetary economy. In the Monster Federation, Rimuru implemented a merit-based reward points system, which we'll refer to as the points system moving forward. The points system was similar to how we use credit card points in real life, where points could be redeemed for goods or services. These points were earned through the monster's work. But why not just issue salaries directly instead of this roundabout way? Here's the reasoning. After the founding celebration of the Monster Federation, the country stabilized, and the budget had more flexibility. Rimuru entrusted Mal Mal with managing the nation's finances and tasked him with establishing a wage system. Rimuru's intention was to reward all those who had supported him. However, this led to a major issue, because the wages Rimuru paid out were seen by the monsters as blessings from their god. In their minds, divine blessings could not be exchanged for other items, so the wages weren't spent at all. Furthermore, as we mentioned earlier, monsters have a mindset similar to that of animals. As long as they were well fed, they were content, with no additional desires. In this situation, the wages weren't being used at all, and the economy would stagnate as a result. Even though Rimuru tried to promote the concept of a monetary economy by enhancing basic education in the Monster Federation, the idea worked well for the younger monsters but was far more problematic for older, adult monsters. They didn't seem interested in currency at all. Mal Mal and Rigard found themselves puzzled by this challenge. However, at that moment, the clever Diablo came up with a solution: never pay in cash. Of course, Mal Mal had considered this option too, such as directly providing various goods. But doing so required asking each person about their specific needs, and most importantly, it would involve unnecessary labor and resources. Diablo, smiling, suggested that Mal Mal should utilize the points system more effectively for their plans. Diablo proposed distributing and accumulating points based on the residents' work performance. The benefit of this system was that points only required verification by the supervisors of different tasks, without involving money or physical items, so the monsters wouldn't hoard or avoid using them. Another advantage was that there would no longer be a need to figure out each individual's preferences. Instead, they could be offered options to choose from themselves. Originally, points could be redeemed for special cafeteria menus, but some individuals weren't interested in food or didn't need it, for example, spiritual lifeforms who didn't require sustenance. So Diablo and Mal Mal considered other perks for such monsters, including priority purchasing rights for high-quality weapons crafted by Q-Robe, Shuna's newly designed clothes, and Rimuru's custom fishing rods. Q-robes, weapons, and Shuna's clothing were extremely popular, requiring a waiting list for purchases, so if points could offer priority, the system would quickly gain acceptance. On the other hand, Rimuru's fishing rod, which was identical to the one he used, garnered no interest because, although it looked the same, it wasn't personally made by Rimuru, and thus held no value for the monsters. Diablo even suggested creating a Serve Rimuru-sama for a day voucher. This voucher would represent the residents' gratitude towards Rimuru, just as Rimuru showed his gratitude towards the residents. The purpose of the voucher was to provide a direct way for the residents to express this sentiment to Rimuru. Since using the voucher would require Rimuru to dedicate an entire day, it would restrict his freedom, so it was set at a super high points value, with only one voucher being issued per month. Everyone could tell this idea was just Diablo fulfilling his personal desires. Indeed, Diablo, with his imposing presence and persuasive skills, managed to convince Rimuru, Malmile, and Rigger to agree to the idea. Diablo then secretly purchased points, engaging in various illegal exchanges, and finally used these ill-gotten points to obtain the right to serve Rimuru for an entire day. Later, Rimuru immediately abolished the system, though Diablo had predicted that Rimuru would do so. He simply enjoyed the sense of superiority and privilege that came with it, demonstrating his truly eccentric nature. What Diablo didn't know was that Malmile didn't need such a voucher to go out drinking or dining with Rimuru. Yet, being smart, Malmile never brought this up in front of Diablo. Rigard, on the other hand, regretted that despite his efforts to guard against Diablo, he was still outwitted at every turn. Rigard knew that his ability to scheme paled in comparison to Diablo's. Although the Serve Rimuru-sama for a day voucher was abolished, the points system was retained and further refined as Monster Federation developed. As a result, the points system was gradually accepted as a reward mechanism, usable in the cafeteria, hot springs, workshops, snack stands, clothing shops, and craft stores. Now let's move on to the main topic, Rimuru's and the executive's salaries. Specific information hasn't been fully disclosed, so we can only make some educated guesses based on what is described in the novels. First, Rimuru's estimated annual income was around 200,000 gold coins. If each gold coin was equivalent to about $1,000, Rimuru's income would have amounted to approximately $200 million. Rimuru received 1 gold coin daily from Monster Federation's treasury, which added up to 365 gold coins a year. However, compared to 200,000 gold coins, this portion was almost negligible. The second part of Rimuru's income came from the profits of the shops he co-owned with Malmile. Malmile's shops brought Rimuru a profit of 100 gold coins per month, or 1,200 gold coins annually. The largest source of income, however, came from the secret organization Three Drunk Sages, which had been founded by Rimuru, Malmile, and Elmesia. The goal of this organization was to stabilize the underworld, fill the power vacuum left by the fall of the Rosso family and the Five Elders, and control the newly born giant economic zone. Three Drunk Sages was an extremely secret organization, and even within the Monster Federation, only Benimaru, the military leader, and Suwei, the head of intelligence, knew of its existence. The profits generated by this organization were divided, with 2% going into the pockets of each Rimuru, Malmile, and Elmesia. It was estimated that this 2% share alone exceeded 200,000 gold coins annually, meaning that Rimuru's total income surpassed 200,000 gold coins each year, making him one of the wealthiest beings in the world. Malmile, one of the co-founders of Three Drunk Sages, earned a monthly salary of 50 gold coins. His other income was split 50-50 with Rimuru, making Malmile the highest-earning man in Monster Federation. Benimaru's salary was the same as Malmile's official salary, which was 600 gold coins annually. However, because Benimaru and Suwei were aware of Three Drunk Sages and were involved in its operations, they each received an additional 50 gold coins per month as a cooperative payment. Outside of the executive circle, Veldora's income was estimated to exceed 400 gold coins. As a key figure in Monster Federation, Veldora received 1 gold coin daily from the treasury, and combined with his wages from managing Ramrus Labyrinth, Veldora's total income was confirmed to be over 400 gold coins. Despite receiving this significant amount, Veldora reportedly tried negotiating for an allowance from Mao but was refused. In addition to this, Rimuru also enjoyed considerable income. She received 20% of the annual profits from the labyrinth. According to Rimuru, Rimuru earned over 20 gold coins daily, which translated to a yearly income of 7,000 gold coins. However, Rimuru needed to share this income with her subordinates, meaning she didn't keep the full amount, but the majority likely still belonged to her. One piece of evidence supporting this was that Shinji, who had defected from the Eastern Empire and joined Monster Federation, earned a monthly salary of 3 gold coins, primarily assisting Rimuru with research. Although Shinji's salary was much lower than during his time in the Empire, the cost of living in Monster Federation was significantly lower, and his work was far safer than before, so Shinji was satisfied with his income. Rimuru's subordinates were said to have received bonuses as well, but the exact amount depended on Rimuru's mood and was not a fixed figure. Finally, Rimuru had privately encouraged Benimaru several times to secretly stash some money for himself. Benimaru was puzzled by this suggestion, but Rimuru didn't elaborate further, though, of course, Rimuru himself had secretly set aside some personal savings. Interestingly, since Rimuru technically had control over all of Monster Federation's wealth and assets under national law, this actually left him with very little personal freedom in terms of spending. Every transaction he made was monitored by Shuna, who kept a close eye on his actions to prevent him from getting into any mischief. And as for what kind of mischief, Gobta probably knew better than any of us. This oversight by Shuna suggests that, in reality, Shuna might be the wealthiest person in the Monster Federation, not Mao. Alright, that's all for this video. This is an episode I've always wanted to make but never quite had the courage to attempt because it involved going back through a lot of details, and I can't guarantee that all my information is 100% accurate. Plus, this topic doesn't have much real importance, it's just for fun, since we all know that in TenSura, money is probably the least important thing. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.